everybody, this is Kim Stevens, your community leader for the Women of the Channel Leadership Network, and welcome to another WOW session. I am excited to introduce you to Diane Serden, who is the Chief of Staff at TD Synnex. Diane, thanks for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me, Kim. I was excited when you asked me.
What is a little known fact about you?
You know, I had to go pretty far into the archives on this one, Kim, but a little known fact is when I was much younger, my uncle ran a truck auction and I actually learned how to drive an 18-wheeler. So even though they wouldn't let me out on the road, I was only allowed to drive around the lot. I was able to drive trucks that had 10, 12 speeds. So different shifting, all of that. I could usually never hit the brakes because they were so far away, but I did learn how to maneuver one and I never hit anybody hard.
And did you do one of those, whoop, whoop, whatever?
All the time, all the time.
How long have you been in the channel, and just, how did you get to where you are?
So I have been in the channel since about 2005. I was approached to take on a new role at what was Avnet Technology Solutions. They were looking at putting together a process engineering, process design department. And somebody sold them on my skills, my ability to look and put things in a process perspective. So I took a role over at Avnet Technology Solutions. Throughout my career there, I was given many opportunities to learn multiple ways to develop and manage strategy. I became certified in change management. We were acquired by Tech Data about 5 years ago. And I was able to take everything I had learned. I led the change management portion of the acquisition globally. Once that was done, I was asked to put together the global change program for Tech Data. And that just opened doors. What I love most about my job is no 2 days are the same. Every day I get a new opportunity to do something I've never done before, stretch myself, learn more, work with new groups of people. It's a wonderful job every day.
Along your journey, was there ever an important risk that you took, and why, and what was the outcome from that?
You know, if I look back on my career, I think the biggest risk I took was leaving American Express, a company I absolutely loved, and moving into an industry I knew very little about. But because I did make that massive change, right, it put me at risk. I left everything I knew. I left a career I had established. I was a known entity within the organization and moved into an organization where I had to start at ground zero and build all that up again. I was very fortunate. I had one of the best leaders I've ever had, right, became my boss within a year and a half. And she always put her people first. And so she always made sure that we pushed and stretched, and we were always doing more than we even thought we were capable. And I would say in short order, I became very comfortable in my new environment.
Making all those changes has the potential of making someone be uncomfortable, maybe question what they're doing or why they're doing it. So in your journeys, have you gone through that where you've sort of questioned what you're doing, maybe even questioned your abilities? And if so, how did you overcome that?
Every day.
Let's be honest.
That still occurs every day, nothing changes. What I have learned in my career is to surround myself with people who see more in me than I ever see. And I have got this network of advocates that no matter whether I'm down, I need to be pumped up because I'm presenting, I've had a bad call, a bad meeting. I have that small group that I can get on a chat, get on a text, who can just always raise my spirits up. So the old adage, fake it until you make it, works really well. It works fabulously if you've got a group of cheerleaders behind you who are always edging and pushing you forward. When we attend the presentations and we do the breakouts, and then you get to sit with a smaller group, and you really do realize how small the world is and how alike so many of our experiences are. Change location, change a name and a job title. But at the end of the day, we all are trying, we do this for our families, right? For our significant others, to do what we can to those less fortunate. We're all coming from the same place. And it's always such a good reminder when you can meet groups of people you haven't met before and immediately sense that there is an affinity between all of you, because we're all just doing the best we can, right? We all get up the same way. We're all just trying to leave whatever we've touched better than where we walked in the door.
What or whom do you look to for inspiration or mentorship, or call it what you will, but where do you go for that?
Outside of my tribe, I would say, if you remember this show, The West Wing,
Yeah.
one of my ultimate favorites. And if you remember Leo, right, he was the chief of staff, and they always had a saying, WWLD, what would Leo do? Mm-hmm. So I am going to shout out to probably the one woman who has been, outside of my mother, the most inspirational in my life. I was lucky enough to have a boss who has become one of my closest friends named Nicole. And honestly, when I am up against something that is frustrating, confusing, just don't know, I go WWND. What would Nicole do? And it centers me and it puts me in a totally different mindset. And I went out to dinner with her last week and I told her that, and she just laughed it off. But sometimes you never really realize the impact you have on somebody's life, right? Just through the daily course of interaction. And she's one of the people I've been so fortunate to have as a mentor, an advocate, a friend. I go WWND. And then it just helps me to come up with something different. She's super smart, smarter than I'll ever be. So that always helps.
What are some things that you do to sort of, I don't want to even call it work-life balance, because that's, I think of work-life integration. What are some things that you do to sort of protect that, to make sure that you're honoring what you need to do for work, but also honoring your life outside of work?
Yeah. Well, I think, right, COVID hit, all of our time management went out the window. And it especially becomes difficult if you are in one time zone and your company is located in another time zone, and half the time they don't have a clock in front of them, right? So we ran up against that in the beginning of COVID. It was nothing to get a 3 and 4 a.m. call on your calendar because it was 7 or 8 o'clock on the East Coast. And, we all spent the first couple of months trying to adapt, do what we could to adjust to that. I hit the wall about 3 months into COVID. I was keeping early and I work in the West Coast. So my days didn't end when their days end. And luckily our leader, John O'Shea, was of the same mind. So I would say 3 minutes after it started, he started to declare some policies that we all embraced. No meeting Fridays unless it was something that just could not wait till the following week. He never wanted to see an hour meeting on anybody's calendars. 30 minutes was the preference, 45 if you had to push it. And he would remind everyone of the various time zones of the team. We started all the way in California and we ended up all the way on the East Coast. So we all became a little bit more mindful. Once I was able to take back control of my calendar, I would say the biggest thing is I block time. I block time on my calendar to work. I block time on my calendar to research, and I block time on my calendar to at least have 15 minutes to eat lunch. And I will overblock those, but those are the exceptions. And for me, it was just having to take control. I had an old executive who once said, at the end of the day, you control your Outlook calendar. You can complain all you want that you're overbooked, but you're the person who hit accept. And I always remember that because it's very true. You can decline, you can offer an alternate time. So it's just taking back control of that 10, 11 hours and making sure I've got the time to get done what I need to.
Diane, this has been so helpful. I really appreciate you sharing this with our members and just sharing some of your best practices. There's a lot of good stuff in here for people to consider. So thank you.
Thank you, Kim. And I have really enjoyed this. So thanks for asking me. Thanks for having me on. And I'm looking forward to our next session. You did.
Oh, well, you guys, when you take a listen to this, would you just let Diane know how much you appreciate her? Give her a shout out, give her a thumbs up, and let her know that you appreciate what she shared. And we will see you on the next WOW session. You guys take care.